I'm Francesco Garripoli, and I welcome you to another installment of the Wuji Mountain Musings, here from Wuji Mountain in Asheville, North Carolina, USA. This is the last chapter of my new book, The Chi Effect. So Wuji Mountain Musings is a wonderful collection at the end of this book of 108 different ideas, musings, concepts relating to Qi, Qigong, Yoga, Tai Chi. This one I like a lot. This is number 107. I'm reading from the ebook. It says, our karma is bound to, amongst other things, our ability to disengage the bonds of epigenetic entrainment. So is the path of the soul in this dimension. We are asked to attend to what we can do, and in the process, stay true to our path. Epigenetics and karma. Have you ever thought about those two ideas together? I talk about it a fair bit in the book. Epigenetics, the idea that we have a guide in our system, an energetic guide that describes a lot about who we are that is not necessarily genetic, defining the phenotype like our body shape and our hair color, eye color, and things like this, but more of our style and our propensities. This is epigenetics, around genetics, not necessarily genetics. It's a vibratory field that's held in the soup, that molecular protein soup around the DNA. And it reflects our ancestral propensities. It comes from our ancestral line, usually and more dominant from our mother's line, that goes back mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, ancestrally. And it brings with it the energetics of those ancestral experiences. This is what influences us so deeply. The ancients, not knowing much about genetics, no less epigenetics, which even modern science is learning a lot about, didn't realize there was a physiological/energetic aspect to what came from our past, whether it's our past in this lifetime or past through our ancestral lifetimes. This is karma. This is what it means to have energetic causality, we'll call it, influences that have come from a life beyond the life that you remember right now. Whether you believe in karma, you're Hindu or Buddhist or not, you have to understand that our bodies are the byproduct of our parents, just as their bodies was the byproduct of their parents, and so on and so forth. And in that creation of the zygote, the embryo, the fetus, came an energetic embodiment of experience. We can call this karma, or at least an aspect of karma. When we understand that, it means that a lot of the things you experience in this life are not yours to own. You can say, why do I have this reoccurring emotion? Why do I have this sadness that comes up? Why do I have this anger that keeps coming up? It doesn't seem to make sense. It's not connected to experiences on this life. And then you can use the Western model of therapy and say, well, it came from your childhood. Well, that's this thing that happened in the sandbox when you were a child, or what happened when you were a teenager. It's an easy out. But trust me, that is not the end of the story. It's an easy handle to grab onto to say it occurred from my childhood, but it even didn't start as your childhood. It only came up like a flower in a garden in your childhood, but its roots went back into your ancestral line. When you get that, you don't have to own that feeling. Yes, you have to be responsible for it, of course, when that emotion comes up, that anger, that fear, that grief, whatever it happens to be. But when you understand that its roots, its causal roots, came from an energetic, epigenetic, karmic pathway that goes way back into the past, then you understand you have a choice to respond to that vibratory propensity, right? That push that makes you feel a certain way at certain times. When you stop owning it and saying, my identity is based on this, this is who I am. I always get angry when this happens, or I always get afraid because of my childhood experiences. You're cutting off your ability for transformation. When you understand that these emotional vibrations have come through ancient pathways, back to your core or ancestral lines, sometimes even tribal, all of a sudden, what you're experiencing now is simply the way you respond to these vibrations within you. That means you can say, I recognize this trigger. I recognize this push. I don't blame my childhood experience response to it, because then I was very unconscious. It was a subconscious reaction to that same vibration that you're feeling now. And now is the time you can transform your karma. It's fascinating. When you know that, it's like listening to music and you dance to the beat of that music. All of a sudden you realize these epigenetic karmic vibrations are a beat, a rhythm that you can choose to dance to or stop dancing to. When you own them and you recognize where their origins are, you have a tremendous freedom, and you can begin to choose and not be a victim of those rhythms, but recognize that this is the moment. Using your heart resonant focus and that identity at that core level, you can change the way you dance to that music, that karmic epigenetic rhythm, and start afresh. It's not easy, but you have to first define where it comes from. Second, you have to choose to move to it or respond to it. And when you choose not to respond to that any longer, you can now create a new karmic core, a new origin of your activity that comes from heart resonance in this moment. It takes a little practice, but by knowing what motivates you, by stop identifying with that and identifying with your true core, karma can be transformed and epigenetics can be reoriented and re-guided to a new life in this moment, starting right now with the choice you make. It's a fascinating experience. And this is one of the core abilities of the chi effect, where we activate chi to get up, to pull up that power, to allow us to transform and guide our life in a direction that makes more sense, which is reflective of our heart resonance, the true identity, who we are at the intuitive mind level. Peace.